Hello and welcome to yesterday's airlines. Over the past couple of years, there's been a real improvement in the quality of 400 scale model airliners that are being produced. And one of the main reasons for that is the brand Aviation400. Aviation400 have in recent years introduced A350s, A330s, A340s, 777, 300s, and now also the Airbus A380. And all of these models have come with exceptional levels of detail and, of course, the famous beacon lights that Aviation400 introduced in this scale. I've been very fortunate. Aviation400 have been good friends to me, and I've worked with them a bit, helping them to refine their new mold samples and publicising those at my website. So check out the that section of the website if you haven't seen that before. I've got reviews of their samples for the upcoming A330-900, for example, and their A320 series too. But they've been really nice guys, and I've been really happy and pleased to be able to work with such an interesting and quality brand that are producing some really beautiful models. So I was really pleased to receive a package from them around Christmas time. They sent me through one of their new Airbus A380s so I could review it. I'd already had a look at the sample mold 3 times prior to that, so I was really pleased to see the final product. I know a lot of people have been waiting for it, especially because it's got loads of really cool details. I was also surprised though to receive something else in the box. It was another A380, but this one is super special, and this is the one we're going to take a look at in this video. It is a golden A380 that AV400 have produced in really tiny numbers, just as an internal release for special friends. And I'm so pleased to be able to have received one of these models. Thank you very much, Aviation400. And let's take a look around this beautiful golden A380 in this video. Obviously, it's a really unusual model, but it'll give us another opportunity in video format to take a look at the A380 mold as well, which is really quite special. Now, if you haven't already, please check out the review I did of the China Southern A380 that they sent through. It was an exceptionally nice model. I really like the mold, as you'll see in a second, but they did a really good job on the rest of that aircraft as well, and it got a very good review. Also, as always, subscribe to the channel, guys, like the video, and check me out on Instagram at YesToAirlines and on Facebook, where I've got quite a presence as well. And obviously, yesterdaysairlines.com. Always keep an eye out on the site for news and reviews from various manufacturers. I like to keep abreast of everything that's going on in the scale. But for now, let's get on and have a look at this wonderful golden bird. So we start off with the gear down, and as you can see, she's up on the actual stand, and all Aviation400 models come with their own stand, which matches the sort of stands which I buy for my fleet anyway. You can usually get these stands in China super cheap. I know jcwings also sell stands that are pretty much the same, and Aviation400 puts them out with every one of its models. So they're good stands actually, and they're simple, but they're quite elegant, and they hold the model really well, even a larger release like this. But that's obviously not what we're here for, to talk about the stand. We're here to talk about this A380 and the mold. I have to say, the electroplating finish here is really nice, and it really glistens under the lights here. But you can see also that the shape of the Airbus A380 that has been produced by Aviation400 here is really nice. It's got an excellent mold region, nose region, sorry, here, unlike the jcwings Gemini A380, which has a slightly weird and elongated nose, which doesn't really work. It's also just got a really good fuselage, and across the whole model here, it works really nicely. We can just move her around to the rear of the aircraft, see the whole golden pattern finishes, and up to the tailplane here, which looks great. The vertical stabilizer, that very tall, but actually surprisingly slender vertical stab. And it's got some good detailing here at the tail cone as well. It looks really good. Could potentially be slightly sharper maybe in that region at the top of the tail here, but it's very minor. Could maybe be slightly sharper at the end there, but Otherwise, the rear of the aircraft looks fabulous, and the mighty horizontal stabilizers here really looking good. Again, exceptional work. So I'll just bring her around back to the front. Let's get out of focus or something. Oh, the engine's still actually so close to the camera. But there we go, back around to the other side, and you can see that it looks just as good from the right side as she does from the left. And glistening lights, and you can see the reflection of my kitchen in the background actually, which is quite weird. So lovely, lovely finish. If we begin to look at the engines, I think Aviation 400 here has excelled as well. It's an area which there was some modification in the sample mould. One of the things I called out in an earlier review was the shape of this part of the engine pylon on the outer engines, and they've modified that. Looks really good. You can also see that in close-up on the engines here, there's quite a few parts. This fin on the inside of the engine here is actually an additional piece. It's not part of the nacelle, and because of that, it's really nice and thin and actually well shaped. Also, you can see that AV400 here, if I just move her off stand, I've gone to the trouble to create see-through engines or hollow core engines for their A380, and they look really good. They also do have the moving fan blades as well, though it's a pain to get them to go around, but they do. There we go, can you see that? There we go. Not a feature that I care about, but it does illustrate the attention to detail which Aviation 400 is trying to achieve here. And I have to say that of the many types of hollow core engines I've seen, quite often the number of fan blades suffers because of that feature, but not on these ones. They look excellent. Really good number and shape of those fan blades. And another great aspect of this mold as well, I'll just take the stand off actually, is just the overall contours and shape of the wing. Here especially, I think it looks fabulous when the curve here down is really, really nice. And at the front, the engines and the wing, nice and chunky, but moving across, you know, this beautiful curve down and out to the wing section, you can see that curve. And again, when you get towards the end of the wings, it's got the right slightly curving downwards towards the wingtips kind of appearance. The wing is got a really good form, much better than that again on the JC version, and certainly as good, if not better than on the Phoenix as well. This is also a nice chunky mold, a really weighty mold, and so it doesn't have any issues sitting on its landing gear, which is something that the Phoenix version has been known to struggle with because it's a hollow mold or one made of aluminium rather than zinc. This is a really nice chunky mold, sits really nicely on its landing gear, absolutely no problem there whatsoever. Focus. There we go. And overall, you know, the model, this one obviously glistens, but the mold itself sings. It's a beautiful, beautiful mold, really, really attractive. I have to say that even though the A380 isn't a major feature of my collection, that the mold is just excellent. You can't really complain about any of the aspects really of the engine or the fuselage, the wings, the stabilizers. They are all superb. Now I'm going to pick her up again. Obviously you've got this detachable landing gear on this, but because it's attached by magnets, it really does hang on. So even waving the model around, there's no problem with the landing gear coming off, and the detailing on the gear is exceptional as well. Really nice. If we can get a focus on landing gear there, you can see it's got some really nice detailing. Perhaps the nose gear tie hub could maybe be slightly more detailed, but the detailing overall on that landing gear is lovely. Moving to the main gear, and this is the one fault of the mold at the moment, and that's that this gear, the rear trucks, don't quite overlap with the main gear as they do on the real aircraft. That's the only real issue I can find with the mold. It's pretty small, you don't really notice it. It's only out by a millimetre or two, but it's something that AV400 have said they will look at modifying. But overall, when you look at the detailing of the gear here, obviously these gears all pivot very nicely because AV400 are all for this kind of feature, which is nice. But there's some really nice detailing around the landing gear as well. And on the underside of the model in general, you can see that there's a lot of great detailing that's going into it here. When we talk about detailing in AV400, of course, we talk about beacon lights, and you can see them glistening on the golden fuselage roof here. We've got the two beacon lights side by side on top of the fuselage. Both of them look quite nice. And then we've also got a slightly raised area here, which is for this little hump. And then back, we've got 1, 2, 3 aerials on the roof here. And, oh, pardon me, I've dropped her. And another aerial under the belly there as well. Really nice detailing across the model. So she's looking excellent. Now, I first must admit the Qatar Airways is not to my taste really as an airline. Anyone who watches my review videos of their monthly releases will have seen me being less than thrilled to see loads of Qatar releases from NG and jcwings and so on and so forth. Having said that, the scheme overall is quite attractive with this oryx on the tail, and it does suit the A380 rather well. This is obviously not the standard Qatar scheme. It's a fantasy livery or a fantasy version with this wonderful electroplating finish, which we'll take a look at in a lot more detail in a second. There were only apparently 20 of this release made by Aviation400, as I said, just for internal use and as gifts. So it's super rare and it's really nice. These gold finished models though do have something of a history in 400 scale. It's the first time I've ever come across one, but it's not as unusual as you might think. Aviation400 is not the first manufacturer to make these. Blue Box, way back in the mid 2000s, produced a really weird and surprising number of golden Lockheed TriStars on their TriStar mould. They're really hard to find, but if you're looking at the DEMA database, for example, you'll see quite a few of these floating around, and they've always been curious, and I've always been a bit surprised by them. And I'm not sure, I think those ones were available at retail for some reason. It's a really nice idea though for gift, and as I say, I'm thrilled to receive it. I'm really thankful for Aviation400, much appreciated. But let's go on and check out in detail the new A380 mold from AV400 on video here. As I said, it's a real cracker. You'll like it. Okay, so let's look at changing the undercarriage on this A380, detaching the gear down and putting in the gear up doors here. It's super easy because, as I say, these are attached by magnets, so you just literally pull and it comes off, and you can see the magnet is there underneath. And similarly for these portions of the main gear, it's just a case of pulling those out. And you can see the magnets in place underneath. In terms of adding in the replacement gear with the gears doors, it's as simple as just getting the piece and slotting her in. The problem is I'm trying to watch the camera and do this at once. Multitasking is a problem. There we go. Slots in beautifully, no problem at all. And you can see there's a little gap here, which is designed to enable you to actually get the piece out again. If we do the main gear doors, that again, nice and easy. This one. Two. Oh, it's the wrong way around. Pay attention, Richard. There we go. 3. And the last one. 4. And they slot in really easily. And obviously with the gear up, the aircraft looks just as nice as it does as with the gear down. And this is obviously where the stand comes in super handy. I have to say that I almost like it more with the gear up, the gear down, just because it adds that extra level of detail. But it is quite unusual to see models in 400 scale with gear up, unless you go to Dragon, obviously, who are the only other manufacturer who ever produced gear up aircraft models. But obviously their gear would just slot in a lot more simple. And this one has magnets, just like a 200 scale model, which is a real change for the scale. Really is a real attempt, I think, to introduce that quality and difference, and that's kind of been what AV400 have been all about throughout their manufacturing. Even though they've been producing molds and often airliners that other people have produced, Phoenix, NG, JC, they're doing it in a way where the models that are the end result are often superb and have that little bit extra, which makes you think, oh, maybe I should replace that older version I got from Gemini, say, or JC or whatever. And you know, even when it's coming to competing against NG models, Aviation400 are more than capable of doing so. I tend to buy AV400 A380s, for example, and their 777s. Certainly their 777 mold is better than the NG version. The AV400 one is roughly the same. Maybe the NG is slightly nicer, but it's very, very close. They're a really high quality brand. And this model shows it. I mean, I know golden models are not to everyone's taste, not even mine usually, but I have to say that the finish on this model, the electroplating, it really makes the aircraft look really superb and just shows off this A380 mold really nicely. I'd probably prefer it to a British Airways, but still, beggars can't be choosers. And it's a lovely, lovely model. I really appreciate them sending through. Now, when you need to get this gear off, the gear doors out again, it's really good. AV400 have provided with a couple of these little pick type tools. You get 2 in the packet. And they make it super easy to extract the landing gear doors. So just flick them out using the little holes up here, like so. Ooh, there we go. Be careful not to lose them, they're obviously very small. There we go. And the last one's a nose gear. Nice and easy. And then of course you can just slot back in the actual landing gear on the aircraft, which is super easy to do. There's a little kind of ledge on that side of the main gear. It just slots in underneath to hold it in place, even though you've got see the little ledge here on the edge. Just slots in under there and then plop, sits in place really nicely. And once again with the inward trucks, the inboard trucks, there we go, slot in place, nice and easy. And lastly, of course, you've got the nose gear just to put her back in. Super easy to do. And super, super finish, and as I say, really strong and attached nicely. I'm just going to put it back on the stand. There we go. And I hope you agree that this is a really superb looking model. Obviously, as I've said, Aviation400 sent me this one, so you might be sitting there going, well, he's only saying nice things about this model because he got it for free. I'd like to think that you did enough of my videos to know that I don't do that kind of thing. And I don't tend to work with brands that I don't like the product from. But one of the best things about working with Aviation400 and NG is that they welcome criticism. When I have criticised their products, they haven't got upset with me and said, oh, we can't send things to Richard because he's going to say something nasty at yesterday's airlines and it's bad publicity. Instead, they take on board the feedback and they make the changes. And I really appreciate that working relationship with AV400. This model is a delightful surprise, really, and I want to thank them very much for sending it to me. Not the sort of model I'd usually buy. It's very bling, but it is beautiful, and I really appreciate the sentiment and thank them for that. Hopefully they've got some really cool stuff coming in the new year. Obviously they've got a lot of A380s out at the moment. You should check out their releases. There's been a lot of Phoenix and JC A380s that have been released as spoilers for these, but these are clearly the best A380s in 400 scale. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And they're going to have their A330-900s and A320s coming out this year, which should be really interesting as well. So I think Aviation400 is a brand that's going from strength to strength. I like them. They're easy to work with. They're producing quality models, and this is a really nice looking golden A380, a really unusual model, and as I say, one of just 20 that they've produced. Okay guys, well, hope you've enjoyed looking at this beauty, and thank you very much for watching the video. Until next time, that's it from me at Yesterday's Airlines. Thanks very much. See ya.